Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here. Alright, so as requested, here is the voiceover of the last 30 minutes of Sunday night, day 7 in the 7-day war, running it all the way to the end and winning the Conqueror title. So I'm just going to be basically kind of talking through my strategy right here. It was honestly really intense in the last 30 minutes. It felt like time was just creeping by. But I'm going to do my best to try to make it as real for you guys as it was for me in the moment. So as of right now, I'm running a double fire ice team. I'm fighting Wit right now, where he just switched in Astrius right here. This was the first change to his team from his mono ice team. And Wit's mono ice team was insanely strong. Like so freaking strong that, as you'll see later on, he just switches Eliza and Celire from the first and third slot, and it would beat my team, even though I'm running Megamont with 95% ice resist. 69 defense, 95% ice resist, and something like 27% missile resist, which is absolutely insane. So I switched to a different team here to try this out, since this was the first time I saw him use Astrius. So I switched to Soldier. This is a team with Setia, Engelbert, and Eliza. And you can see it kind of plays out right here. One of the weaknesses of this formation is that Eliza stays a little bit too close to Engelbert. And as you'll see here, even with only 2 ice units, and Wit has basically every single ice unit and probably ice VC in the game, extremely strong ice team. So Eliza barely surviving right here. You'll see Astrius is going to start to come out, and right here, if Setia had been on the side with Eliza, I feel like this team would have won. But right here where Eliza takes out Eliza, I knew it was over. You can see here I skipped out and we lost. What I could have done right here is just switched Setia and Eliza. But I didn't even think about that. Before I went into this, I just told myself first rule is just breathe. Better to take an extra 10 or 15 seconds to make a choice than to just get a little panicked and just go into a fight. Because if you go into a fight and you lose, you're losing like 40 seconds around. So better to just like take the time and make the right choice. So I switched to a different team right here to try my best and take down this new variation of his team. And I essentially go back and forth between fighting Amos and Wit the entire time. I knew that Wit was the true contender. Amos definitely super strong, but because the strongest team that Amos had for fighting and beating us was a mono dark team, I knew that the bonus from that wasn't gonna be high enough. So as you can see here, I'm only like 2,000 or 3,000 points ahead of both of them. They're both at 223,000, I'm at 225,000. It's literally anyone's game at this point. As you can see here, he switched back from Astrius to a mono ice team, so I just switched over to True, which is Setia, Megamont, and Eliza. And with Eliza in his first slot, this team has like a 95% win rate. So you'll see here, I'll skip through, I'll get 472 points, and it does have a really good bonus, this team. And so basically, whichever team he was running, I tried to have, I basically built 10 different teams for the final day, and I played with a friend of mine in like match battle, and we spent 6 or 7 hours. And thank you so much. Shout out to my buddy J.M.S. He's a sub leader in our guild FARSIGHT, for helping me to fully tweak and master all 10 of these teams. I actually had built in template 16 other teams, so I had something like 26 total teams, a bunch of different variations. And so I knew that every single team of the 10 that I was running right here was gonna perform at basically max potential. I checked all the VCs, I checked all their motions, all their buffs. I had 5 TMRs pre-slotted with trust stones, and I just switched those 5 TMRs between everyone in all 10 teams. So I never had to worry about trust stones coming off or anything like that. I was running Titus's boots, Bells, Lucio's TMR, Helena's TMR, and I believe June's TMR. And so even though I had certain ones that were kind of more magic spec'd, like right here, let's look at this. Celis is running June's TMR, so this works out well for her. I think I even had the ability off here for her. Actually, I think I have it on. So Amos just switched to a mono fire team to defend. He had a mono fire team and a mono dark team, which were both pretty strong. But I had built this team to counter Odaiba from the day before, a mono water team with Celis, Ildira, and Astrius. And it works really good against basically any fire team. So I was able to beat Odaiba with that team, and essentially anyone running the Setia, Megamont, Eliza comp, this team would take it down. So it worked against Odaiba, it also worked against Fate, it works against Amos's mono fire team. And then I did have one team built for fighting Amos's mono dark team, which was also a really, really, really strong team, full trust stones, every passive maxed. And surprisingly, not everyone in the top 10 had all their trust stones maxed. I thought that everyone would for sure have 12 maxed passives on each of their trust stones. It didn't really seem to be the case, but I will tell you that in the top 3, both Wit and Amos were both running trust stone sets with 12 passives, all of them maxed. I think that I am one of those people that actually didn't have all my passives maxed, although I did have 12 passives on each TMR. And another thing is that I was literally farming all of my energy large pots every single day through the event, strengthening my trust stones. I did everything that I could possibly do in order to do this. I also got the +5 Thornlit early Sunday before the final fight right here, and I equipped it onto 5 of those teams. It's a really nice accessory. It's still available for anyone who wants to get it. It gives 20 defense piercing. It's an accessory, really good. So right here, I'm still farming Amos. It's pretty intense. It's going back and forth, but a little bit less talking about my preparation. So Wit just switched his team. When he wins, he's getting a way higher rate up than me. And so for me, when I see him switch right here to a mono ice, I just switched over to my fire team. I know that this team can take it. He was making like 20,000 points earlier. Like he just started going on a winning spree. And you know, earlier he had less points. Wit didn't start making a push until like the last 30 minutes. And he was getting 800 to 1,000 points. What he did to counter this fire team was he just switched Salide and Eliza from first and third slot. I didn't notice that he had done that at first. And so he was able to make huge gains and catch up. Although thankfully, by the end of before the end of the night, about 20 minutes in, or about 15 or 20 minutes away from 1 a.m., which was 1 a.m. for me, the end of the day for War of the Visions, I figured it out, what he was doing. And since I was able to figure it out, I was able to just counter it, as you guys will see a little bit later on. So essentially with him running this mono ice team right here, I was just trying to get as many wins off of it as I possibly could. I knew that it wasn't a guarantee to beat any team. That was something that doing this kind of showed me, is that there really is no guarantee, especially in this high level of PvP. But you want to make teams that can win more or less 90% of the time if possible. And so right now I'm kind of defending against Wit. So you can see he switched his team. He switched to a Velis, Astrius, Eliza team. Strong team, hadn't fought it before. I hadn't used Braver, which was my mono lightning team, at all on offense. But going into this final day, it didn't have any bonus units. I switched one of the VCs and I put Helena's card in there. So it had a 50% bonus rate, just in case. This team was super strong. I used it as a shield basically the entire week. There were people that were able to beat it, Wit being one of them, with his mono ice team. But as you guys will see right here, when he can't use his mono ice team, it's not strong enough to beat it. And so I was still able to defend. And so even though I was getting less points, I knew that a win was a win. And by not only beating his team, I was defending against the current team. So right here, this is when I kind of switched over. I had no plans to use this mono lightning team as an offensive team. And at this point in time, I just had to make a choice. And so instead of going through, as you guys could see earlier in the video, when he switched in Astrius, I tried a couple different teams. I tried Setia, Engelbert, Eliza. It didn't work. I tried my master team, which was Velis, Astrius, Eliza. It also didn't work. And so I knew that this team had a very good chance of winning. And so instead of just messing around with a bunch of different teams trying to see which one would win, give them the chance to make a lot of points on me, I decided to just switch over. So as you can see, he switched his team again right here. He couldn't take that team, the lightning team, so he had to switch back to the mono ice team, which is the only team that he had that could actually beat my mono lightning team. But by essentially baiting him into using his mono ice team, I was able to switch to my fire team, and that fire team has a way higher bonus than my lightning team. So he switched in for the mono ice team. He probably won a fight, but then I also get a win out of that as well. And for every time I get a win, he may be getting 600, 700 points, right? But if I get 250 to 300 to 350, it's making the amount of points that he needs in order to catch up higher every single time. And so my strategy was just take it slow, breathe, 1 minute at a time, one move at a time. Kind of like rock climbing, you know, like I've climbed up to 800-foot cliffs outside, and it's essentially the same way. When the going gets tough and everything's on the line, you kind of just gotta breathe and do one move at a time and not think too far ahead. Just stay where you are and just kind of make the best choices for each moment. So right here, you can see he switched Eliza and Celire, and crazy that team as mono ice could take this team. I am using Megamont as 115. Thank God that this week I pulled on that paid banner, the 2K banner where you get a guaranteed 100 costs. And I have wanted Megamont as a unit since he came out, and it just never happened. I never pulled him, and I saw that you could use 2K paid Viz and you would have 3 retries, and Dark Leela was on there, Megamont was on there, and Jaden were on there. All 3 of them I wanted, but I was going to retry all the way for Megamont, and I pulled him on the first go. And then literally, I think that day, and here Wit switches to a mono win team. This is actually pretty interesting, actually, because I never actually beat his mono win team, but I'm pretty sure that he lost to a defense team that I put in, that even though on my end I lost the fight, I think on his end he lost the fight as well, because he ended up switching out of his mono win team back to something else, even though I couldn't beat it. So like you'll see right here, and this is super interesting, I lose this fight. I'm running double ice and water against this, and just Wit is just a great competitor, super strong player, great player. And you can see he switched over to Dark. I mean, I'm going after Amos right now, and thankfully about like an hour before the end of the night, I was up on Amos. I had a 12 win streak, and I had a choice to try and beat Amos's Dark team or just wait till 30 minutes in and keep my win streak. And I opted to risk the win streak and fight Amos's Dark team. And I actually lost. There you go. I actually just lost again right there. I lost to Amos's Dark team once, twice, and then actually thrice. And then I made one change to my master team right here, and it made it so that I would beat Amos's Dark team like 90% of the time. I just switched the formation. I think I put Velis from the left slot into the middle, and it made it so that for the majority of the times I would fight Amos, I would win the fight. And if I hadn't taken that risk, then I don't think I would have actually won rank 1 in Arena. Because when Wit put in a team like the mono win team, and I didn't want to take the time and the the risk factor to keep fighting it. See, he switched from mono wind here back out, and I'm guessing maybe he did that for bonus points, whatever it was. He switched over to this, and this was an interesting team as well. Winter Victoria, Velis, and Eliza. And the fire team I was running could beat it, but it was more like 60-40. Like, I think I lose this fight right here. But back to Amos, since I figured out how to crack his dark team earlier, whenever Wit switched to a team that I wasn't sure how to beat, or if I wasn't positive that I could beat it with a high percentage chance of winning, then I would just switch to my master team and farm Amos instead. Okay, so right here I still have 9 refreshes, but there's no way that I was gonna get all of them off. It was, you know, I didn't use all my refreshes the entire week, but most of the days I was using the majority of my refreshes. I now realize, like, this was my first time trying this. I had never been in the top 10 before, and so I figured you use as many refreshes as you can. That gets you the maximum amount of points. But now I'm realizing that, you know, you can wait till the end of the day, and then you can get 1,000 points a battle and make, you know, even more points off less refreshes if you play your cards right. So I went in blind into this week. I did feel like I had a very good chance based on certain things, and I'll make a video later on about, like, when to decide is a good time to go for rank 1 arena, what are the boxes you need to have checked, how you want to go about it, and when you should know to pull out from going for it or not. So I'm going to make a video later on, kind of like an overall guide for it. But for now, let's just stay in the motion. So it's like you're seeing I'm not winning all my fights. And so this gets really stressful towards the end, especially when second and third place are getting more points than me, when they're both trying to catch up. I have no idea how it was for them fighting each other. So I switched over here to Eliza, Cloud, Resnick, trying to take down Eliza, Velis, and Winter Victoria. I built this team specifically to fight the team that he's running right now, and I never got a chance to try it out, but I'm pretty sure that I lose this fight right here. Yeah, so I lost. So a lot of the things that I planned for weren't really panning out, but I wasn't taking the time to actually go through the battles. At this point in time, you know, you're running out of time. Time is a major factor here. And so, you know, it's tricky because you don't know how close the fights are. And I know that Wit was changing his teams, which means he's either switching for a higher bonus or he lost the fight to me. So even though I lost some of these fights, I think that he lost some of those fights to me as well. And so as you can see, I've lost like the last 3 or 4 fights in a row, and that just gets more and more intense, honestly. Like, the more you start to lose, and I didn't even look at my score. In the last 20 minutes of the war, I was not even checking my score. I wasn't looking at their scores. I mean, I'd glance at their score, like at the end when you skip the battle. Like, I'll show you guys right here. Let's see. Okay, so the battle's gonna start. I switched to Mono Lightning right here. I think this is against Winter Victoria. Yeah. Okay, so right there where you saw Wit's screen right there are the other contestants. I was just glancing at the last 3 numbers, trying to keep track of them. I knew that this team, Mono Lightning, would stop his team. And so I switched to whatever it was that I knew would stop him, would prevent him from getting points off of me, and it was this team. And I know that the only team that he can beat this team with is his Mono Ice team. So I'm just gonna keep trying to get as many wins off of him as possible. I knew that it was coming, that he was gonna switch over to Mono Ice. I already knew that I could counter his Mono Ice team. I just have to be aware of who is in the first slot and who is in the third slot. So he'll probably have switched it over right here, or maybe one more fight, we'll see. I'm guessing as soon as he gets to the point where he couldn't win a fight, he would switch. So it looks like I got 3 wins in a row right now on Wit by using the Mono Lightning team, which, like I said earlier, kind of crazy actually that I ended up using it to fight offensively at the end of the day, because I wasn't planning on doing that at all. But it just so happened to work out that like the mono lightning team was strong enough. I mean, his ice team could win, but the moment he dropped one of those ice units, he couldn't take it anymore. And I know lightning is extremely tanky. Cloud has guaranteed hit. Resnick makes them extremely tanky. So as you can see right here, he just switched to his mono ice team. I knew that I had to switch Setia back into the first slot. I switched her over. I went after Wit. I knew that this team had a very good chance of winning. So as long as I just breathed through each thing, checked what he did, I wasn't in a rush, and just taking it one step at a time, trying to essentially maintain my lead without knowing my lead, without knowing their points. I mean, you can't even really see. I'm skipping through things so fast that you can't even tell how fast that they're catching up to me. So it's literally like a blur. So right here, he switched again from mono ice. He switched over to mono wind. I switched back to my master team. And then instead of fighting his mono wind team, I would just farm Amos because I'm getting a 0.5 rating from them anyway. I already tried to fight his wind team. I lost. I didn't want to try again. I knew that I was running Astrius, Velis, and Eliza. So both, that's 2 ice units against mono wind. So if he's attacking me, even if he's winning, it's still ice versus wind. So I have an advantage. I'm guessing that he probably lost a couple fights, or they were very close. I don't know if he was watching his fights or not at this point, but I figured, you know what, screw it. Instead of trying to take down his mono wind team, I'm just gonna let it go. Almost switched here. I forgot about this actually. Almost switched over to mono earth, which was literally threw me off right here. And I didn't exactly know what to do. I didn't have a counter for mono earth. I had literally 0 wind teams built. I probably should have had a win team built, but like I didn't pull for Sadali. I don't have more. I mean, I have Joom, but like the thought to make a win team didn't even really occur to me because it's weak to ice, which has the highest bonus right now. So like, as you can see, I fought his win team again and lost. He just had very, very, very strong teams, like extremely strong teams. And honestly, it was everything I was looking for. This, I was getting close to the end. I switched over to a true evade team. He had switched back to, I think he switched over to, Eliza, Velis, Winter Victoria right here. In order to counter that, I switched over to Braver, my mono lightning team. I knew this team would stop him. I knew it would force him to change his team. So I don't know exactly why he changed his team right there from mono wind. Was it because he lost a fight to my master team? I don't know. The nice thing about the Velis, Astrius, Eliza team that I was using to block against his win team and to take Amos down for points is that it has a 450% bonus. So like, even if he was getting points on me by beating that team, I was still able to farm Amos until Amos switched right here, and then Amos switched over to mono ice. And then at this point, it was like literally pure chaos. Like the end of the night, I made 233,000 points. I'm at 231 right now. So literally almost switched over to mono ice. I'd never seen him use a mono ice team the entire time. It was like these teams were just coming out of nowhere. There was mono earth, there was mono ice, mono wind, all these teams that I had never seen before. But I knew as soon as someone put up a mono ice team, I would just switch over to this team. Thankfully, I learned this team from Odaiba and Fate. So hats off to you guys, because if you guys hadn't, if I hadn't fought your guys' teams with this formation, I wouldn't have been able to create a counter for this ice team. And so it just worked out, like taking the experience of, you know, who you fought before, like even with Rutada, like in day 4, like I still have his team saved into my templates, literally named Rutada. It was a Astrius, Liza, Setia team. Really cool comp, really cool rainbow comp. And so right here, I took the win against mono ice. It was definitely getting close to the end of the night right here. I had no idea what the points were. Almost had switched back to mono dark. And Wit had switched over to Salire. Actually, I didn't need to switch right here, and I went in. Actually, I can't even remember. I think that Eliza needed to be in the first slot against Setia, or Setia in the first slot against Eliza. So actually, I think I might lose this battle. We'll see. I may have switched it off. I may have went in with the wrong formation. It gets a little complicated. Okay, so I did win that fight. It gets a little complicated trying to like balance everything going back and forth. And then I came out here. It was still Setia was switched over. He had switched. Okay, so we just switched the team again. I went back to True, switched to Braver, went in, went against Wit right here, was able to defend and get some more points against him. So him, by switching over to Winter Victoria, he was able to severely decrease the amount of points that I was able to get. As you can see, I get around 130, 140 points when I use the Mono Lightning team, but it does stop Wit from beating my team. He has to switch over to Mono Ice, and by switching over to Mono Ice, he gives me the opportunity to get around 400 points. So at this point, we're in like the last 2 minutes of the night, the last 1 minute of the night. Shit was absolutely freaking crazy. Wit had switched. Okay, so Wit still hadn't switched over. He was still using Winter Victoria, Eliza, and Velis. So I just refreshed my orbs. I went full at it with the Mono Lightning team. Doing my best to hold them both off. I had no idea where they were. It honestly felt like, in my head, I'm imagining like a war of swordsmen in the sky, and it's like an all-out brawl, and everyone's fighting each other, and I'm just like fending myself off from like, you know, second and third place are just coming at from different angles, and it's just like pure chaos. But honestly, when I started this week, this is exactly what I was hoping for. And at the end of the 6th day, it doesn't show in my video, but Wit took the lead at the end of the 6th day. It was the first day in the whole week that I wasn't in first place at the end of the day. And so I knew Wit was a super gnarly contender. I basically focused only on him this last day. Like, almost got some attention, but honestly, my entire focus was on Wit. I knew that he was the one that was going to be the person to beat. So I went in here with the Mono Lightning team. I'm still fighting the Winter Victoria team, and I basically gave him as much attention as I could. I didn't really focus on almost too much. I would only use my Master team when Wit used the Lightning or the Wind team right here. I would switch up to Master, and then I would just fight Amos with his Dark team, which I knew had a very good chance of beating it. I think that I actually lose this fight too, and Amos would have been even harder to beat. And I'll be uploading a compilation of all the fights I did. A lot of these are skips, but I have all these fights, the individual ones where I did the tests, saved, where you can actually watch all of them. I think I lost this one. This was like in the last minute. I was like, no, I freaking lost the team that I knew that I could beat him with. And then I got out of here right here. I switched over, I looked at Amos, and then I was literally just sitting here like, come on, come on, come on. Like, I know this team can win, like, just freaking pull through, beat him, beat him, beat him. And then I was just like, you're sweating, it's the end of the night. I didn't know what the points were. It was freaking crazy. I go into this fight, I skipped it, I was praying, and I was like, oh, thank God, like, I freaking got it. So I pulled out right here, we're going back, and then I didn't know what was gonna be the thing, like, was Wit still gonna have the Mono Wind team? I checked. Wit still had Mono Wind. I had to refresh the orbs. I went in. I think I get a second win here against Amos, thankfully. And then I think we're in like the last 30 seconds right now. We're creeping up on the last 30 seconds. I'm pretty sure I glanced at the clock. It was 12:59. I didn't know what the score was. I knew that I was in first, but I know that these things can like switch over super fast. And so I came out right here, and Wit had changed again to a Mono Ice team, and yeah, right here. So I actually went away from Amos. He switched to Fire, Wit was Mono Ice, and I actually had the setup in True already set up, but it had already been switched back and forth so many times that I was kind of confused. I switched over, a new day had begun, and I was like, holy shit. My friend on Discord was like, dude, I think you got it, bro, I think you got it. And I was like, holy shit, like I just took a second here. I was like waiting at the home screen. I was like, oh my God, breathing, trying to like freaking let the whole experience kind of pass over. I was like, did I get it? Did I not get it? I don't know, like this can take time. I didn't get to see the end score. And so I was just kind of just chilling here. And essentially yeah, it did turn out that I had, a few 1,000-point lead. I was able to fend them off. I'm going to be showing you guys the footage of getting the rank 1 title, the rewards as well, and it was a fucking crazy experience. It was everything I wanted. If honestly, when Wit passed me at the end of the second day, it like put me into overdrive mode. I feel like I'm stronger in the clutch. I feel like I'm stronger when the pressure's on. And when he beat me, it kind of like put me into like ultra instinct mode. And I'm so happy that actually it turned out like that, and that I did get to experience that epic showdown at the end of the 7th day of the 7-day war. I'm gonna go through all 10 teams right here. This was my Mono Lightning team. But all in all, those last 30 minutes, it was so fun. You definitely don't make the amount of Visior back that you spend from doing this. But to me, it wasn't about that. I just wanted to see if I could do it. I really believe that if you want to win this, you just have to work harder than everyone else. I ended up having 7 pages in a notebook of all the notes on the other players, and I'll upload that at some point in time later on. This was my True Fire team right here. Props to Odaiba, props to SRH Fate. Even though I had Megamont only at 115, he was able to hold it down for me. Such a freaking legend. Setia came in clutch. This is Nyx, this is Eliza, Setia, and Celis. I didn't get to use this team too much. I thought that this team would counter Mono Dark. I actually had it in my book as a Mono Dark counter. But actually it didn't work. So, certain things you just have to be willing to kind of go with the flow, roll with the punches, and not let, certain things that are going wrong obstruct your better judgment. And so this was my Squall team. It was Eliza, Celis, and Astrius, super strong. As you can see, my TMRs, they don't change. The Trust Stones, they don't change. I have Titus's Boots, June's TMR, Bells, and then I also used Lucio's Emberlight Mantle, and the last one I used was Helena's TMR. And I set those stones, and I never changed them. And so I never had to worry about it. I had 10 teams that were perfectly in sync. I had gone through with my buddy Dremt and tested them in the arena. Thankfully, you can do match battle and you can fight in the same arena. I built a Mono Light True Evade team. I was curious about Rabir. He would come up every single day. He was running a Mono Light team. I wanted to use it. It didn't really get the chance. I scanned over to it at one point, but then I opted out of it. And this was my last team of the night. It was Setia, Engelbert, and Eliza. I did get to use it. It lost. I think it would have won if Eliza and Setia were switched. But all in all, this was a blast. This was the best experience I think I've had in War of the Visions, other than like getting into Legend with my guild. That being said, since I am talking about my guild, I'm the leader of FARSIGHT. We are currently recruiting for anyone who wants to join. We were undefeated in the last limited war. I think we've won 5 of our 6 most recent battles. So Guild War is mandatory, Discord is mandatory, decent team building. But if you want to join a sweet guild, we're day 1 guild and a great family. So just hit me up on Discord and we'll go from there. That being said, I will just let you guys see what it's like to win arena and get rank 1.